Welcome to the Disabled Podcast, starring your host, Christian Reitz.
Hot dog, let's go!
Welcome to the Disabled Podcast, the show that incorporates disabilities with the magic of Disney. Welcome to episode number 10, entitled Snacking Around the World. Be sure to use our hashtag the Disabled Podcast when sharing this podcast to all of your social media platforms. Now again, that's hashtag the Disabled Podcast when sharing this podcast to all social media platforms. And now, here is your host, Christian Reitz. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Disabled Podcast. In fact, welcome back to Season 3, Episode number 10 of the Disabled Podcast. Guys, we've only got a couple more episodes left before we finish this season of the Disabled Podcast. Now, of course, this is the show that incorporates disabilities with the magic of Disney. But today, we're actually not going to talk about disabilities at all. As a matter of fact, we're going to talk all about Disney. And this week, we're going to call this episode Snacking Around the World. And in this week's episode, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you park by park, maybe even a resort or two, and I'm going to tell you about all of my favorite treats that you can find at each theme park and even a couple of resorts that you will definitely want to try if you have not tried them on your next trip to Walt Disney World. So right now, let's dive right in. Now, when it comes to snacking around the world, again, these opinions that I'm going to say, these snacks I'm going to say this week are really my own opinions of what I think are the best snacks. So I'm curious to know, and this is a question for everybody listening or watching online, what is your favorite snack from the Walt Disney World Resort? So why don't you drop me a comment down below on any streaming platform or on YouTube about what your favorite snacking area is and what snack you like there, whether that's from Magic Kingdom, Epcot, Animal Kingdom. I'd love to know what your favorite snacks are from all those different areas. So drop me a comment down below. Now, when it comes to snacking around the world, I usually like to start park by park. So we're going to start right now with the Magic Kingdom. Now, in the Magic Kingdom, I've got to tell you, and let me explain to you first actually how we're going to do this before I get too ahead of myself. What I want to do in this episode is I want to tell you my favorite snack, and then I want to give you the rating for the snack. So it'll be 1 out of 10. And most of these are honestly going to be 10 out of 10. But there might be some surprises in there that you didn't think I might not like as much as I thought I would. So, again, starting with the Magic Kingdom, the number one thing I got to talk to you about are the cheeseburger and pizza spring rolls from Adventureland Snack Cart. Now, the spring roll cart over there at Adventureland, it's right at the entrance of Magic Kingdom, just off to the left of the castle. And I absolutely love the cheeseburger and pizza rolls spring rolls that they make there. Again, cheeseburger spring rolls are they're standard to what you would normally get. I mean, you can make these at home. There's cookbooks and recipes online, but these are some of the best. I mean, it's literally a cheeseburger, like pickles, onions, cheese, meat, obviously, some ketchup, and it comes with a dipping sauce that's like a cheeseburger dipping sauce, it's almost like I would describe like a yum yum sauce, like you would get at like a Japanese restaurant or some kind of like Miyabi's or a Chinese restaurant or something like that. And so that one is actually one of my favorites. So I definitely give that a 10 out of 10. Now, on the flip side of that, if you go across the castle to the other side of the castle, you go to the Friar's Nook. Now, I don't remember what this was called, but basically it was kind of like your Magic Kingdom version of tachos before tachos existed. Before Toy Story Land in Hollywood Studios even existed. These were like a version of tachos, and so I definitely give those a 10 out of 10 as well. So for those two snacks in Magic Kingdom, those both get a 10 out of 10. Now, if we switch over to Hollywood Studios for me is a little bit differently because there's a couple snacks that I love that are in different parts of the park. And of course, there's ice cream and all that, which is amazing. But there's a couple things that I really have loved over the past maybe 3 or 4 years that I've gotten to be over at Hollywood Studios. And so those two snacks are, of course, one's from Galaxy's Edge and another one is from Toy Story Land. Kind of across from, actually, literally, Toy Story Land is connected to Galaxy's Edge. So you just walk along the path of Galaxy's Edge, and then you're right into Toy Story Land. One is from Woody's Lunchbox, and that is, of course, the Tot Shows from Woody's Lunchbox. I had those probably a few years ago. Not this past family trip, but maybe it was probably 2022, 23 when I had those tachos. I had never had them before in my life. And basically, what tachos are is basically it's sour cream, cheese, scallions, bacon. Uh, I don't even know all that's in it. Basically, it's loaded on top of tater tots, just your basic standard tater tots. Um, and this one for me was interesting because I had never had something like that. I've never had loaded tater tots before, basically. And so that one really surprised me. It's I will say for somebody that's thinking about getting tachos, it's probably one of those things that you might want to share with somebody else. When I got it, it was just me, and honestly, I almost couldn't even finish the entire thing because it was that big. But that's one of the best things they have, and actually, that's one of the most popular things that they have. Now, if we go over to well, in the same area of Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, but actually a little bit further away, if we walk outside of Star Wars Galaxy's Edge and move just across the park, we're gonna go to Rosie's All American Cafe. Now, back then, Rosie's All American Cafe had this. It was like a s'more marshmallow. I can't remember exactly what it was called, but it had potato chips and all that stuff, and pretzels, and it was just good. And I had that back in 2021. But another favorite that I had that was actually around that same area was if you just went outside of Galaxy's Edge. So it was not actually in Galaxy's Edge, but it was near Galaxy's Edge. If you went across from the Indiana Jones Experience, the Epic Live stunt show that's over there, you would come to the Backlot Express. Now, the Backlot Express, my brother actually got me this, and I had never had this before. I knew it existed, but I'd never tried it. He got me the Wookiee cookie, and y'all, I know it sounds weird, but let me essentially tell you what it is. Basically, it's just an oatmeal cream pie with the Hershey's chocolate bar that looks like the what's the thing? You know, the thing the uh, the belt across Chewbacca. He basically got me one of those, and so right there, the tachos from Toy Story Land and also the Wookiee cookie are both 10 out of 10. Now, if we jump on over to Animal Kingdom, to Disney's Animal Kingdom, there's really one thing that I've loved there out of anything that I've ever tried at Animal Kingdom, which honestly has not been that much, believe it or not. Because to me, Animal Kingdom is not a place that I really prefer what they have there. But there was one thing that I love there, and I actually had it on the most recent trip to Walt Disney World, and that was at the Kusaviri Coffee Shop and Bakery, where I got to have the breakfast tachos. So now, not only does Hollywood Studios have tachos, but now Animal Kingdom has breakfast tachos. And so, guys, essentially what this is just potato barrels or tater tots that is topped with scrambled eggs, cheese sauce, cheese curds, and bacon. And guys, I gotta tell you, the price on this was only about $6 or $7. So very honestly, pretty low priced, I believe, for the most part. But what was cool was that we sat at one of the places right next to that kiosk area. And what's cool is that actually right across from it is the Kilimanjaro Safari. So me and my mom actually got to do this on our last trip, and my family wanted to go to ride some of the Avatar rides, and because of accessibility, I cannot ride basically those rides in the world of Pandora, in the world of Avatar. So I could not ride those rides. So me and my mom were like, well, let's just go. Let's just get something to eat. So we went to Kusafiri. We got the breakfast tachos. Y'all, first of all, the breakfast tachos were incredible. But what was even cooler than that was if you looked off to the left, just across the walkway a little bit, you would see the Kilimanjaro where they load off. And we actually looked at the wait time for Kilimanjaro as we were sitting there, and we noticed that there was a 15-minute wait time, y'all. Now, if you know anything about Kilimanjaro, Kilimanjaro is one of those rides that it doesn't have a 15-minute wait time a lot of times. Usually it's about 45 minutes. Usually it's about an hour or so. Usually it's about 2 hours. It's kind of like Pandora, where long lines all the time. So that was really a good thing to do that we got to do right at park opening almost. Like literally, park opened. We went over to Kusafiri, and then we saw there was a 15-minute wait time. So we actually got to go on it after Cruciferi. And so that's Animal Kingdom. That's the one thing I would recommend. Again, if you have any snacks that you think I should try for my next Walt Disney World trip, drop them in the comments below. I really want to know what you guys think and what you would recommend so I can try these on my own next time I go visit. And so now we come to the very last part of this series, and that is Epcot. Now, in Epcot, there's the countries, right? So there's all these countries around the world, right? So you have England, Germany, Norway, China, Japan, Canada. And so there's different, what's cool about all of these different places is that you can actually try different food from these areas. But for me, uh, there's really like three things I love. Now, one of these things that I love, I'm gonna go and tell you right now, is actually from the Festival of the Arts. Now, Festival of the Arts is one of my favorite festivals, and we're actually gonna do an episode here in a couple, here actually the very next one, talking all about the different Epcot festivals and what you can expect from these Epcot festivals. And so one of them was actually loaded fries. Now, this was like a loaded fry float, kind of where it's like you have three different flavors, right? It's kind of like a beer. Essentially it's a beer flight for fries. It's a fry flight, and I had this again back in 2022. And essentially, what it is you have these three different ones. You would have like garlic aioli fries. You would have uh, barbecue bacon fries, and then you would have like one like dessert fry, which is like marshmallow covered, you know, with like chocolate or something like that. And that fry flight was good, and it actually only cost like $5 for a thing like that. Now I got that during the Epcot Festival of the Arts when I went in 2022, and that was a really cool thing because that was actually kind of right across from Test Track over at Epcot, and so that was one of the best things I ever tried. But I got to tell you, one of my favorite snacks of all time, y'all, and I know many of you are going to agree with me on this one, is of course the school bread over at Norway at the Kringla Bakery Oak Cafe. Now, this essentially what this is, if you've never heard of it, it's a sweet roll filled with vanilla custard, and it's coated in coconut. Now, if you're a coconut fan like I am, like almond joy or something like that, you are absolutely going to love this item, and it's only $5 to $6. Guys, that is the cheapest thing for Disney. Like, we always hear that Disney is the priciest of all things, right? And yes, that is true for these bigger restaurants, but if you really go onto the app and you really go into these different areas, or even go online and look at some of the different things, or go to Chat GPT and kind of let that tell you what the cheapest things are, you're gonna find out that actually you can afford a lot of cool snacks in the park. And not only do I like the school bread, but also I used to get this from the refreshment port, was the croissant donut, or as people used to call it, the cronut. Essentially, that's just fried dough with cinnamon sugar. It's cinnamon toast crunch in a donut. Okay, it's a cinnamon toast crunch donut. And so that for me, those three items specifically from those different areas are some of my favorite snacks in Epcot, and of course, those get a 10 out of 10 from me. Now, if you're one of those people, after hearing about all the snacks, and you're like, well, what about break days? Like, for some people, what they like to do is they like to take a week, and they like to do maybe 3 days at the theme park, one day at Disney Springs, and then maybe another day at a theme park or maybe resort hop. What do you do for the times that you just want to kind of stay back at the hotel and relax? What can you do that's still got the Disney flair and still got the freshness of a Disney snack? Well, there's actually a few different options that I would recommend for you. And this, again, these are just a couple of options. Really, three options. I'll give you my three options. And I've talked about this when we did our challenge of pin, snack, or something else. I've talked about a couple of these snacks. So, a couple of these snacks, if you go back to the episode, you'll already know about. But there's one snack that I got to tell you about that's actually one of my favorite snacks there. That might actually surprise a lot of you guys. So we're going to actually take you back to the Polynesian Village Resort, to the Great Ceremonial House. Now, at the Polynesian Village Resort, and you can get there by the boat from the Magic Kingdom, or by the bus from any one of the theme parks and Disney Springs. Um, One of the snacks that I love there, of course, is from Captain Cook's, and you've heard me mention it before. It is the pulled pork nachos. Now, these come loaded with cheese, pineapple salsa, spicy mayo, of course, uh, pulled pork, and this exact thing cost about $11. So this is going to be more on your pricier side of things, but for me personally, the quality of the chips, the quality of the pulled pork, and all the other toppings on top of that are totally worth it. And it's just got a good quality taste. And the cool thing about going there in kind of the afternoon ish is that it's actually not that crowded because people are usually at the theme parks enjoying that food. So you want to make sure that you got to get there right around. They start serving around 11 a.m. for lunch. And so you want to make sure, well, it's about 10:30, 11 o'clock for lunch. And so you want to make sure you get those pulled pork nachos, y'all, because those are the best things ever. So that will be on the first floor of the Great Ceremonial House. You just go straight on back and then go to your left past the staircase. That'll be on your left-hand side. Stay to your right, turn a right corner, and then go straight down the hall, and you'll see Captain Cook's right there. Y'all, these pulled pork nachos, I cannot tell you enough good things about them. They're one of my absolute favorite treats in all of Walt Disney World. And if you disagree with me, that's fine. But I'm just telling you again, these are my opinions. Yeah, to me, they're some of the best things I've ever had. Now, if you go upstairs to the Great Ceremonial House, you're actually going to come up to Kona Island. Now, Kona Island is basically like your little bakery, okay? And I say your really small bakery, okay? You're going to find it next to the Kona Cafe, just to the left of the Kona Cafe, kind of tucked away in there. And these have a lot of cool things like chocolate covered strawberries and maybe chocolate covered pretzels, yeah, all kinds of cool things, right? But then there's a couple things in there that I really find fascinating, which is the assortment of different chocolate covered bacon. Now, for me, I have looked at all the flavors of it. They have spicy bacon, which I'm not really a fan of. Spicy bacon covered in chocolate, that just doesn't fit very well for me. So I usually just get the regular chocolate covered bacon. Usually comes in about two full size pieces. I mean, like full size pieces of bacon. And what's cool is that it's not too crunchy and it's not too chewy either. But again, I mean, certain days can be crunchier, chewier than others. So it's kind of a hit or miss on those. But yeah, for me, I love getting chocolate covered bacon. Now that's gonna run you about $5, just $5, y'all. So again, that's one of those steals in there that you want to make sure you know about. Is the $5 snacks. Now, if you see $5, it's probably gonna be a good buy. So again, those two items, I would definitely tell you a 10 out of 10 for those. Now, if we go to Animal Kingdom Lodge, Animal Kingdom Lodge was a new one for me. Again, going back to Pin Snack or something else, where I got the zebra domes. Now, the zebra domes ran me about $7. And essentially, all they are, guys, it's like Jello to me. It's kind of like if you want to imagine like the inside of a Boston cream donut, but covered in like sprinkles and put in a freezer. That's basically what it is. It's got chocolate liqueur, some mousse in it. It's got some really good things in it. I don't remember all that was in it. Um, but yeah, those two were really some of my favorites. So again, that's going to give you about, for at least for my rating, that was probably not my favorite thing in the world, but it definitely gives me a 7 out of 10 for how good that really was. Now, this last item I want to tell you about is actually from one of my favorite resorts on Disney property that I've actually stayed at before, but I didn't really get a chance to explore it. So next time I go to Disney, I'll have to explore this. And then that's, of course, the Caribbean Beach Resort. Now, the Caribbean Beach Resort is on the Skyliner that is a part of the Skyliner Resort. So there's about three or four lining up from the Caribbean Beach to the Riviera. And you will access that by Disney's Hollywood Studios. Now, the Caribbean Beach Resort in their like main dining hall, my favorite thing there, and I guess I'm a bit of a nerd when it comes to it, is their omelets. I had the best ham and cheese omelet there back in 2021, right? Actually, when the world opened, kind of when shutdown was done and the parks reopened again. partial resorts reopened, I actually got to go and visit the Caribbean Beach Resort. Stay there for a weekend trip with a couple of my brothers and one of my nephews. And I got to have the breakfast omelet. The ham and cheese omelet there was amazing. It came with breakfast potatoes, and so I don't mean like potato barrels or tater tots, like nothing like that. I mean like these were actual breakfast potatoes, and y'all, these things were so good. These things would have probably ran me about $10 at the most, I believe. I don't remember the exact price, but that was one of those things where like I've been trying to beg my parents every time we go to Walt Disney World, like, can we, like, even if we're staying off property, can we go get some breakfast over at the Caribbean Beach? Like, it's open till 11 a.m., you know, it's from 7 to 11. They do breakfast, you know, from like, I guess it's from like 7 a.m. to 11 a.m. And I haven't been successful in that yet, so because I've only had it that one time, but keep on praying that I get to be successful in that, because those things are the best. I guess I'm very simple when it comes to that. So everywhere I stay now on Disney property, I always have to have one day in the morning. Usually the first day we have a park or something like that, or maybe the second day we have a park, or any time during the week. I usually have to have one omelet, because omelet is to me like comfort food. It's usually something I don't usually get at home, but I love it when I can get it, and I think Disney makes some of the best omelets you've ever had on property. Well, guys, that's all I have for this week's episode of the Disabled Podcast. Guys, be sure to join me again in 2 weeks when I talk about the Make-A-Wish Foundation. We're going to do a very special episode where I'm going to share some of my story to you guys of how I got to know Disney and how the Make-A-Wish Foundation has impacted my life the most. And I'll give you some more information on what the Make-A-Wish Foundation is and all of that great stuff. Guys, I'm so excited for that episode. You have no idea. And I'm also excited for some more episodes. We've got about 3 or 4 more episodes we're going to do before we officially wrap up this season that you do not want to miss. Stay tuned, guys. It's coming soon. And by the way, I want to draw your attention to one more thing. Did you know that we have a podcast store for the Disabled Podcast? That's right. Well, we actually have made products, or me and a friend of mine have actually made products to put online for the Disabled Podcast. So you can go to the links below on all streaming platforms that you're listening to or watching me right now. Go check out all the products. We've got more products coming up for the holidays, for Christmas, and for New Year's. We've got all kinds of things lined up. We've actually been working on things this week. Me and my friend who's helping me do this have been working on some ideas even just this week, and so I'm so excited for what that's was going to come out of that. But again, I know I haven't mentioned that in a while, but that's because we just haven't made any new products. But be sure to go check out the Disabled Podcast store, and I'll be mentioning that every single episode, so that way you can check out everything that is there for the Disabled Podcast, and you can bring home a piece of the Disabled Podcast for yourself. Well, guys, that's all the time I have for this week's episode of the Disabled Podcast. Be sure to join me back in 2 weeks for a brand new episode of the Disabled Podcast. Have a wonderful day, everybody, and we'll see ya
Real soon.
Thank you for joining us for this week's episode of the Disabled Podcast. Be sure to use our hashtag the Disabled Podcast, when sharing this podcast to all of your social media platforms. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see ya real soon.